Welcome back to the Situation Zoom. And today we're bringing three completely different vantage points into one conversation. Joining me today, we've got Kika Pavese, who is the MD of MD Real Estate and the founder of Voyage UAE, a leading short-term leasing company in Abu Dhabi. And this is your fourth appearance on Golden Nuggets. Like if there was a leaderboard, this is her fourth appearance. And she's like 10 months pregnant right now. So thank you so much for joining us. So we're going to be getting the Abu Dhabi residential market through Kika's lens. We also have Zeina Khoury, who's the founder of Z Capital and star of Dubai Bling reality TV show. This is her second appearance on the show. So we're going to build on past conversation, which is the developer representation A to Z with Zeina. And lastly, we have the man in the house, Myles Bush, chairman and co-founder of Phoenix Homes, which is the alternative brokerage model, which we're going to touch on. So now I just want to run through the past 2 months since the conflict began. Now, ladies, sorry, Myles, you're not in the WhatsApp group. We've got another WhatsApp group, which Zeina was trying to get me kicked out of at the beginning because I was unhinged. But it's interesting because we all had different characters or personalities or reactions. Zeina was freaking out because she was actually in London doing a roadshow. Tell us what happened on the February the 28th.
Wow. So we spent like 3 months preparing for the roadshow. And clearly we were there to represent Dubai real estate. First day was the 28th of Feb. And we were like, Dubai is the safest city in the world. This is what Dubai has to offer. And then everything started the next day. And then we were like, oh, okay, one of the safest cities in the world, which is something that I actually continue to believe till today.
Right, because who knew we had this defense system that was so powerful? Like, I had no idea. Kika was very confident, right? Kika was like, yeah, we're good. We got this.
Yeah.
Well, I call myself the eternal optimistic. So we moved here for a reason. We established our businesses here for a reason. And I think that the full support that we've always had was not going to go away. I mean, it was a shock. No one ever expected something like this happening. But to give you an example, like I closed my office just on Monday, the Monday after, just for a day. And every time we were in a meeting and there was the alarm coming, I would tell the team, this is the sound of us being protected, So I believe in the UAE, I believe in the government. And I think what's happened showed that, yes, we are in the safest place that we could ever be. And if it's to be in the middle of a war, this is the right place to be.
Yeah, look,
Myles?
I had like 4 ladies from my team with me in London. And our first reflex and first reaction was we need to go back home. So we were very upset that the flights were getting cancelled. So we didn't even think twice whether we should come back to the UAE or not. Yes, please, Myles. Sorry, you need to.
I'm not going to get a word in edgeways here, am I? I'm screwed. Shall I just leave? I'll just go.
Go on, tell us, Myles. What was your reaction? What did you do?
We just carried on. I mean, I don't think there's no right or wrong way. Everybody dealt with it in their own way. And, I'm certainly not going to critique, anybody else. But for us, we carried on. Deals were still happening. We took care of our support staff. We made 0 redundancies. We paid everybody in full. And we carried on. I mean, I've been doing this for 9 years.
We're only on February 28th here.
Yeah, but you
We're going to move into March.
Sylvia, you say that, but there were other we won't name names, but there were other companies out there who were firing their support staff, putting their support staff on half salary, and not taking care of their people. So I don't think we should be too shocked by how people reacted. But in terms of how we reacted, no, we carried on as normal. We paid people in full. We looked after our team. We were a bit more flexible. We said if people want to travel, There was no restrictions on travel. You know, there's no annual leave. We don't have annual leave restrictions anyway at Phoenix. It's more of a free sort of model. But you know, if people wanted to take a month or 2 months and travel, it's fine. Crack on.
What did
Otherwise,
you do?
we just carried on.
Yeah. Okay, so business as usual for Myles. Well, for us, it wasn't business as usual. Zeina was frantically trying to get back to her babies and her business and her life.
I can understand that.
And I was trying to do the reverse. I was trying to get to London. And Zeina came back. It was like more or less an empty flight, right? You had the whole plane to yourself.
Yeah, we were one of the first couple of flights that were coming back to Dubai, but we were extremely happy that we had the chance to come back. And with regards to what Myles was saying, different companies have different setups. Some companies are very high on support staff, others are not. And my understanding is that Myles' setup is very
Very lean.
lean when it comes to
Yeah.
support staff.
Yeah.
With regards to different companies taking different approaches, we don't know what is the actual setup of these different companies, and they know their cash flow better than any of us. So we can sit there and judge the different people that took different measures. However, the priority during these situations is to make sure that the company comes out alive. We didn't know how much time it's going to take for the situation to go back to normal. And even today, we don't really know when is it going to go back to normal. Is there a new normal? So, and I also believe that employees that did not make themselves indispensable for the organization are unfortunately going to face different results.
You can see that Zeina is more of a tough business person than me. Maybe I'm too soft.
I believe I took action early on, but up until now, I believe that I still have the core team and the business is as usual, and everybody feels supported and everybody is working towards the same goal, which is making sure that the company comes out of this alive.
Yeah, I mean, it's no good saying we're not going to cut salaries, we're not going to make people redundant, because if you're not going to be able to save your business, then it's pointless. Everyone's going to be out of the job.
I think like when you look at a situation like this, even on the first day or after 2 months, the first reaction you have on a personal and professional level is to readdress. You have to re-strategize. On your personal level, you will see, do I really need to buy this? Do I really need to? You will adjust your life, your personal life. The same you need to do in your business. One of the first things I said is that everyone is accountable. So this is a time where you need people to prove themselves. So yes,
Yeah.
I would love to have that
Right.
mentality that no one is going to be fired. We're going to keep everyone. But this is a time where you need to work 10x. So I'm going to be working 10x. You are going to be working 10x. If you don't, and if everyone is guaranteeing their jobs, then, I mean, it puts you in a very difficult situation. So I think it's a great time to readdress, like Zeina said, are you really need all of those support staff? Are they really contributing to your company? And are they as concerned as you are to the success of the company? So then you have an excuse to kind of let people go. And I'm sorry, you're not really contributing for my success here.
But it might be worth explaining your model, Myles, because people might not understand why it's possible for you to be able to do that. So just for the benefit of people who might not know, what is the model and why was it easy for you to be business as usual?
Our model is a lot more like the American model. I'm sure you've seen things like Selling Sunset, or what's the other one? $1 Million Listing, where typically in Dubai, brokers work on a 50-50 or a 60-40 model. Typically in America, they take a larger slice of the pie, but they contribute towards their desk space. And that's very much how Phoenix works. People contribute towards their monthly costs. It might only be 1,000 or 2,000 dirhams, but they take a flat 80%. So what Zeina said is correct. We are a leaner model. We only have, 10, 12 fixed salaried staff, which is small. And then we have a team of approximately 80 or 90 brokers. So the majority of people at Phoenix are fee earning. And the other thing as well is, unlike other companies that I've been involved in, Phoenix only takes on experienced brokers. So in this current marketplace that we're in right now, the heavyweights and the experienced brokers are the ones that are surviving, understandably. You know, if you've been here longer, you've got a client base, you've got a track record. And 80 out of 80 of the brokers at Phoenix, literally everyone, is experienced and has a track record. So Zeina is correct. We are in a fortunate position that you've got 80 people who are all good. They're successful.
Yeah.
They're making money with quite low overheads.
And they
So
need less support.
Yeah, absolutely. They need less support. They're less reliant on management. And you know, at the risk of sound, you know, I shouldn't say, but I think we will come out the other end stronger than we started, which puts me in a very rare position. You know, we have lost one broker over the last 7 weeks. And that was just somebody who said, I'm moving back to they left Dubai. We lost one person, but we've gained seven other very experienced brokers got upset with their current employer for different reasons and came and joined me. So, you know, you look at that, we are in a stronger position now than we were 7 weeks ago. So yeah, I would agree. I think that does put us in a unique position.
And it's not your first rodeo, because you were the founder of PH Real Estate, old school, set up in 2007, just before the global financial crisis. So you've been here before.
I am that old. Yeah,
you've been here before. So I'm sure you can understand how this decision to cut salaries, cut staff came, because you were yourself in that position.
Yeah, 100%. I think also it's when you've got reflection to look back at, you know, we made change. You look at COVID, look at the Arab Spring, look at other problems that happened in the region, and you learn from these things. And I have the advantage of being able to look back and
being old.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, there are things that we did during COVID that I'm really proud of and that I stand on. But there are other things that we did across those years that I look back on and I think, no, I could have dealt with that better. But that's life, isn't it? You know, you reflect and you learn from these things and you grow.
Please share those golden nuggets. That's ultimately what the show's about. So as someone who's been through this it was probably one of the largest real estate companies back in 2007.
Yeah, we were at one point. Yeah, it was a big company at one point. Look, those
learning.
Golden nuggets, those tips. I think first of all is, you know, protect your people. Make sure that you're accessible. You're not sitting in an ivory tower. Making sure that you keep morale high. You know, whether that's additional training, getting closer to your team, but giving love and support and help. That's really important. Cutting costs is an interesting one, because I want to sort of just dive a little bit deeper into that. I think if a company has not got the cash flow, if they do not have the cash flow or the cash reserves as well, then I completely agree with Zeina that you have to protect the company. And this is absolutely not targeted towards your comment, Zeina, but there are other companies out there who, if a company does not have those cash reserves, and if the company does not have the cash flow, then I don't blame that company at all. You have to protect the agency, exactly like Zeina said. I've just got issues with other companies out there, and there's one or two who are, you know, they're on social media posting the lavish lifestyles, the private jets, the new sports cars, and all. And look, I'm guilty of those things as well. But I think the difference is I would put the people first. So if I needed to have, I would have sold the Ferrari in order to pay for the support staff. So I think really it comes down to priorities. And I think there is a difference. You know, if you've got the luxury of having those choices like I do, then I would prioritize people first. So that's another lesson that I learned from sort of COVID to today. Keeping the staff very close. We've kind of touched on that already. Another interesting one as well is marketing. And I think some agencies out there I mentioned earlier that 3 or 4 new brokers had joined me from one particular company. They left that company because that company had cut their marketing budget in half. They'd gone down to one portal only. Now, if I was a broker working for one of those agencies, that would upset me too, because there are less buyers in the market. I think we can all agree on that. There are less buyers in the market. So I don't believe now is a time to cut back on marketing. I believe now is a time to increase your marketing. And that, when I went on camera and I said that, I got a lot of private messages from brokers saying, good on you, well done. But I got a lot of messages from company owners who were quite upset with me, saying, you shouldn't have said that, which is, I get it. But it's the truth. That's what I feel. That's how I look at this. I don't think now is a time to chop away at your marketing budget. I think now is a time to step forward. So yeah, look, there's 3 or 4 golden nuggets for you.
Personally, I think with regards to cutting costs, it came natural for certain departments, because when you have 20 deals happening in a week, and then you go down to 5 deals a week, okay, and you find that there are people that are raising their hands saying, you know what, I can do it on my own. I can support everybody and be extra busy and come on weekends, and I am happy to do extra work to make sure I keep my job. So definitely you're going to prioritize people that have this
I agree.
commitment towards the business. Okay. With regards to cutting costs, personally, our model is more reliant on creating a product for us to work with the likes of Kika and the likes of Myles and his team, etc. So we represent the developer. Okay. I've had to shift my attention from relying solely on this real estate model to entering the real estate secondary market in the UAE. Okay, because I believe that the secondary market is where we will find really good deals in the next 6 to 9 months. So I've removed a certain cost from that developer exclusive setup to actually investing in another department. So that's why sometimes, it comes out as if we are cutting costs, but we are actually restructuring the costs that we have to ensure
and prioritizing
that, we are keeping a segment in the market, and we are foreseeing what the next phase is going to bring.
And Kika, how was it from your vantage point in Abu Dhabi? Any difficult decisions you needed to make or made?
I mean, I think my situation in comparison to COVID is that lots of people bring that comparison. During COVID, we were really small. So when everyone was firing, I was hiring, I changed the brand and everything. So I was in a very fortunate position. Now that we are way bigger than we were before, COVID was very kind to Abu Dhabi as real estate growth. Of course, I had to make changes. We are off-plan focused, and off-plan is not at its best days. So we had to readdress the situation and bring other sources of business, leasing, secondary sales, lots of conversations with buyers and sellers. Should you sell? Should you buy? So the full situation is different, and we just have to adapt and re-educate the market, re-educate our agents to be able to survive. And at the end of the day, this was needed. I always say this is the real brokerage. Real brokerage is not off-plan sales, 80%. Real brokerage is that relationship with the landlord, is a resale, is the exclusivity. So I think it helped as well to bringing a little bit more maturity to the market.
I think what real brokerage is the clients. The clients are the ones that are driving what real brokerage is. So in the past few years, they were following, they were asking for a payment plan and hoping for capital appreciation. But there is one thing that a lot of people, I find, comparing COVID to what is happening now. COVID was a worldwide issue. And during COVID, I paid everybody full salary. I did not let go of anybody because people were stuck in their countries. They continued to rent. They continued to go to their jobs, etc. So a lot of the operation from my side was supported by the rentals and the property management contracts that we had. So COVID was completely different to COVID is completely different to what we saw today. But Kika Abu Dhabi is booming now. I find that even off plan is still active.
It's active, but what I mean by real brokers is if you look all over the world, what is a real estate agent?
The basics,
You know?
yeah.
We are in a very fortunate position that we have all of these projects to sell off plan. They're quicker deals that demand less work from our agents. So that's what I mean when I say that maturity is like agents are too used to do the off plan sales. So do they really know how hard it is to do a sale? Going through an MOU, going through all the process and banks and everything. So I think this is bringing a lot of education and maturity to the market. Abu Dhabi is booming. I think we are in a different position than Dubai. We had the launch of Ohana 2 weeks into the conflict, and it was a huge success. And now with Wudun, now with Aldar. So, you know, I think we also have a different demographic of people in Abu Dhabi that buy. Our buyers are confident in Abu Dhabi. So I think it's helping us a little bit more. And at the same time, very important point, we don't have as many brokers as you guys have in Dubai or brokerages. So it also puts in a better position, I would say.
You probably hear a lot of Dubai commentary all the time, nonstop. Is there anything that you're hearing happening in Dubai and you're like, oh no, we don't experience that here in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, I don't really hear, like everyone I speak to is pretty negative. Only few are quite positive about the situation, saying that lots of businesses will go out of business, lots of brokerages will close. Fortunately, we haven't heard those things here, but I do believe that we have. I was a bit concerned with all of the Dubai agencies that were going to come to Abu Dhabi in the beginning of 2026. Because of course, I mean, there's different experience and the type of brokers and models of parameters in the business is different. So there was a lot of big agencies coming and they closed that. So I was like, okay, then I have more time to prepare. That's how I saw it.
Not that you are scared of any of them.
No, not at all.
We
But
see
you
your
know, like,
award. Yeah, Myles, we should have brought some awards and put them there.
Huh?
Where are your awards?
I'll bring you. I'll bring
I
you.
haven't got any. I'm terrible.
This is my baby right here. Myles, are you planning on entering Abu Dhabi market anytime
Yes.
soon?
We'll see you soon, Kika. Yeah. We're
Bring
be
it
there.
on, baby.
What concerns you most about the Dubai brokerages coming into Abu Dhabi? What might they not be prepared for?
I think if you look in terms of quality of agents, Dubai attracts more people in general, international talent. So you bring people from all over the world that are very educated in the real estate market, know what they're doing, and this puts them in an immediate advantage. Abu Dhabi is more about families. So it's harder for us to attract good talents. Just because Dubai is more attractive. A young man, young woman coming to Abu Dhabi, you know, all the lifestyle and everything, that doesn't really, it's not that doesn't exist in Abu Dhabi, but Abu Dhabi is a bit more conservative. So big companies coming to Abu Dhabi, convincing their current employees to come to Abu Dhabi, immediately our competition will increase. I'm not concerned that these companies have a different experience in the market. They can bring, I mean, let's look at stock, let's look at prices. We don't have properties above 150 to 100 million maximum, and this is not the case in Dubai. So just with that, you understand there is a massive difference. So bringing that experience here for us that we don't have that experience, that database of clients, that's what makes me think, okay, I need a little bit more time to be there, or for the market to reach there so I can have more people more educated into keeping up with the Kardashians.
And you both have verticals. You both have holiday homes, companies. Myles, I'm not sure if you do leasing as well. What elements have you seen make the kind of quickest comeback, and what's perhaps surprised you in the last 2 months when it comes to different divisions?
I thought it was going to heavily lean towards secondary. And interestingly, from what Kika was saying about Abu Dhabi, we've sold 11 units this week in Abu Dhabi. I'm sure you saw Tara Park in terms of Modon. And I am absolutely not an Abu Dhabi expert, just to be clear.
We sold Disney, the project of Aldar overlooking Disneyland.
There you
Yes,
go.
Park.
So,
Yes,
so
Park.
yeah, there's for me, that was, answering your question, that's what surprised me. I thought it was going to be heavily led towards secondary, and I didn't think that Abu Dhabi and Off Plan would make a quick comeback, but I was wrong. And it has made a very quick, I mean, for us to sell that number of units this week is huge. And we don't class ourselves as an Abu Dhabi expert at this stage. Eventually that will change. But, right now, I'm sure Kika's knowledge of Abu Dhabi is much better than mine. But for us to do that many units this week, I was really impressed with my team. I was really impressed. Secondary, I'm not surprised. I think it's just a matter of adapting, changing, prioritizing, working out who your motivated sellers are. I hate the words distressed sellers. I don't buy that. But, your motivated sellers, your sellers who actually want to exit, identify who they are quickly and then pivot and move accordingly. I think one of the advantages that my guys, just speaking only for Phoenix for a moment, one of the advantages that my guys have got is they can do whatever they like. We do not limit people to an area or a discipline. So if my guys want to do Dubai or Off Plan or rentals or Abu Dhabi or commercial, they have no restrictions. So I think that's a massive advantage for my team. I feel deeply sorry for brokers. I feel really sorry for brokers out there at the moment who are only allowed to do, let's say they're only allowed to do Palm Jumeirah, and they're not allowed to bounce that buyer from Palm Jumeirah to Dubai Hills. The market is difficult enough as it is. You don't need to be putting up more barriers. So I think there's going to be a lot of brokers who fail. I think there's a lot of brokers who will not survive and they will go back home, which is, from a humane point of view, it's sad, isn't it? You don't want to see people fail. It's sad. But from a commercial point of view, let them fail. The strongest will survive. And it will separate the boys from the men.
Zeina, any parts of your businesses that performed better or surprised you?
At the beginning, the rentals, the 12-month rentals stopped completely. People were a bit hesitant in committing to 12 months. So this is where we introduced a different type of 12-month rental. So we spoke to the landlords and we've convinced them to do less penalty, less notice. So this worked well for us, but still the monthly rentals for the holiday home section did really well in terms of occupancy. So we have around 98% occupancy at the moment, however, at lower rates. But we feel that giving this flexibility in times of uncertainty to the clients in the market will always win. And yes, we wanted to make sure that our apartments are not vacant and at least bringing in enough money to make sure that the landlord is still able to pay their commitments with regards to mortgages, with regards to their rent. Because a lot of landlords, they buy smaller apartments and from the rent, they pay their own rent. So
good move. Very, very clever.
Moving.
Good move.
We wanted to keep moving.
For me, we're at MD, we had to readdress the situation. So I had a conversation back in November with some of the Dubai owners, and they were saying that the flipping of plan market in Dubai was really hard. And I was like, wow, in Abu Dhabi is really good. So I think Abu Dhabi is a little bit more confident when it comes to off plan. The flipping of off plan is still happening. So I believe that your buyers, Myles, for example, they're coming here because there is a little bit more confidence. There is a massive lack of stock as well in comparison to the population. So there is an opportunity of capital gains, and it's still there. And of course, the payment plans are very attractive at the moment. No ADM fees, and all of that is helping Abu Dhabi market as off plan. So we're doing well. We're not doing as well as we were doing, obviously, but we're not massively failing, and that's what's important.
Yeah,
It
but
will
you've
take
had
time.
also, you've had some really like stand out launches.
Yes.
The
Yes.
Yas Park project is a once in a
Yes.
lifetime opportunity. Do you want to be next to Disneyland and you know,
There are others from Aldar that are as good as, but yes, Aldar is a great developer to work with. Yeah. And I was very surprised with Dohana that like to launch their project after 2 weeks going into the conflict, and then it was a huge success. In terms of short-term leasing, I was I was in the process of selling the business before all of this happened, just because the company got too big, and you can't not do both. Well,
and
at
you
least
got
I
too
can't.
pregnant.
They say women can multitask. Well, so I was in the process of selling, and I finalized the sale of Voyage. And Voyage, it's going to continue the short-term leasing market, but they are going to convert. The new owner is converting it into a real estate company. So because of all the portfolio, all of the landlords that are going into long-term, landlords that want to sell their properties. So Voyage has a strong portfolio of properties, and that's what the new ownership is doing. But that's not, it's not my business anymore.
Okay, so our business, our expertise is in real estate. Real estate brokers look up to you guys. Myles, you mentioned a lot of them aren't going to make it. What message do you have for the brokers out there? What should they be doing? What should they be doubling down on? What should they stop doing? And some of them only have known an upmarket. So how do we address them?
Dig deep, dig deep. First of all, the strongest will survive. That's for sure. The question is, how do you become the strongest? First, my tip number one would just be blood, sweat, and tears. You've got to work the hardest. Those days of being an order taker and thinking that it's going to come easy, they're gone. You've got to be really digging deep and working hard. Outwork your competition. If you want to stay, if you want to survive, outwork them. Control the controllables. Think about what you can control and then action it. Don't moan about things you cannot control. You can control making sure that your listings are well presented, that they're on the top of the web pages, that you are giving your clients accurate information. You're turning up early, you're turning up well prepared, you're dressed accordingly. These are things that are in your control. And I think it's really important to go back to basics and get a grip, because it's not going to be an easy ride. It's not going to be a quick fix. But yeah, I mean, go back to the basics. But I think I don't want to give lots and lots of tips, but my number one tip, and I'll leave something on the plate for Kika and for Zeina, but my number one tip would be blood, sweat, and tears. Outwork your competition.
Thank you for that, Myles.
I think a very important thing that they need to be focusing on at the moment is social media. If you are not known in your community and in your environment that you are the go-to person for real estate, you have no chance. That's why a lot of agents, they neglected social media in the past few months or years, because they were getting good leads and their companies were spending on marketing. But if they had really built an audience during these years, they would have really realized the importance of that now. So people that are looking for distressed deals or motivated sellers, Myles said, which is also what I tell my agents to say, because there's no distressed deal. Every person needs to sell for different reasons. Maybe they're having a divorce. Maybe they want to upgrade into another unit that's going to become available. Maybe they have a better use for this money to invest it in their business or to put it somewhere else. So like the position where the seller is ready to take his money and leave that position. So if you are not the hub for the best deals in the market during the next 9 to 12 months, you will not be able to survive. Definitely blood, sweat, and tears, knowing the market, knowing what's available, doing your research, using all the tools that are available for AI, They are all available with $20 subscription. Some of them are even free. Okay, now you can do videos. Now you can use AI to call up, to do 150 calls an hour. So if we are not investing in digitization at the moment, and we are not on top of our social media and getting from point A to point B faster, we will not survive.
Myles is nodding his head. Meanwhile, Myles, let's talk about your tech background.
Let's not. I was laughing then because Zeina was saying about the social media. I was thinking, well, for 19 years, I've done okay. I still don't have an Instagram account. But
I think it's a combination of what you both said of how can you be successful as an agent, but I'm not active on social media myself. My profile is closed, but you have to be seen to be known. So we do a lot of videos in the company that then we can promote our names and everything. And this is a important thing. You have to be seen to be known. You have to be online as broker. A lot of the educational content, it's very important as well. And, you know, you have to breathe real estate. And you lots of brokers that put themselves in a position and don't work extra mile. Really have to push people in terms. I would say, like, if you guys get, well, in your case, Myles, your agents get 80%. My case, my agents get 50. And I always say, like, if you get 50% of the income, like, that makes you a shareholder, right? So you are the owner of this business. So today it's with MD, tomorrow is with someone else. And that's how people are addressing this job. You are the owner of your own business. And then the mindset shifts. That's how I see it. And that's how we try to portray it to our agents.
Illusion.
I think
Myles,
there's definitely
you need to take the extra miles. Myles, you need to
Huh?
take the extra miles.
The extra miles.
That's
How
the
good was
moral
that?
of the
No one
story.
laughed at me.
I
You need
absolutely
to
do.
walk the talk.
It's interesting though, because you know, where you were saying about social media, I think it's very easy for someone like me to say that I've done well in what I've done over 19 years with no social media, but that is because I'm known. You know, if you go into Emirates Hills, which is where I focused for 2 decades, yeah, everybody knows me because I've done so much in Emirates Hills. But if I was starting my career now, of course, I would absolutely take your advice. And I completely agree with you, Zeina. I think if you are stepping into the market now, if you don't have the luxury of 19 years of experience, you have to be on social media. I completely agree with you.
But can you imagine how much more you could have achieved if you married the social media with the actual on ground experience? And you are quite well. I don't know why you're hiding this from the rest of the world.
No,
Especially with all his
think
opinions.
You're social media fit. Yeah, I can say you are social media fit. So why not?
Look, in terms of social media and me, going back to your point, Silvia, where you're trying to bully me to talk about social media, don't confuse the companies that I've owned and me as a broker. They're two different things. So Phoenix, for example, we are very strong on social media. We have a brilliant follow. You know, we're very strong when it comes to social media. You know, International Property Awards gave us we won. You know, the best agency and also the best website. So marketing and social media, I understand it. But me as a broker, when I put my broker's hat on in Emirates Hills, that's where I've not been strong in social media. But you know what? I don't necessarily regret it because a lot of my clients, a lot of my clientele have worked with me because I'm confidential, because of discretion. A lot of my clients are celebrities, royal family, diplomats, politicians. They don't want to see their house splattered all over Instagram. So you play to your strengths, you play to your, and you work accordingly to your area. But I do agree with you though, Zeina. I mean, I think for your average broker in Dubai right now, especially for your new brokers in Dubai, I completely agree with you. You've got to be one step ahead. You've got to be all over social media.
Who's standing out for you now across socials? in light of the conflict?
You mean other agencies?
Yeah, other brokers. I'm really enjoying Jake Nazir's stuff. Tris Taylor.
Shah Malik. If you look at what Shah has done, I think it's incredibly, it's very, very impressive. He was the person who led the charge with the Abu Dhabi launch that I mentioned at the moment. But it's not just inside of Phoenix Homes. There are other agencies that I admire as well. I love a lot of the marketing that Sotheby's have recently done. I think they've done a great job. I think the ladies that are on the podcast with me now, I think have done a great job in their respective areas. So yeah, I think there's a lot of good quality people out there.
Okay, and I want to now move on to kind of what's our kind of advice for landlords, sellers, buyers and tenants in the current market? Because there's a lot of conversations being had, a lot of convincing going on, a lot of predictions. So what's your current positioning when it comes to the customer?
I'll give you an example. I own quite a lot of properties in Abu Dhabi, and I had one handed over just before everything started, like a couple of days, and till today is still not rented. So I've put it in the market for rent, put it in the market for sale. Let's see whatever comes first. And I'm getting a lot of offers completely below the price that I want, and I'm not budging. So I think my main advice is don't let your don't cheapen yourself. Like don't go that low. Keep to your price. Be a little bit flexible, of course, in terms of rents, because you will regret if you go too low, and in a year's time the situation will be completely different. You are stuck to the 5% cap in increasing that rent. If you sell too low, then in a year's time, you will look at your property and you see, oh my God, what have I done? Like many people during COVID. So this is the advice: is stick to your price. What makes sense? Don't panic. If we didn't panic 2 months ago, this is not the time to panic now. It's just give a little bit of time, breathe. If you can wait, of course, like Zeina said before, there's different types of sellers, different types of situations. If you are in a fortunate position that you can wait, because I do believe the future is bright. Everything that happened, the way we're protected, the way the government is moving forward, there is no way that all of these years of work into building the UAE to what it is today, that will go down to waste. So I just tell people to keep believing in the UAE as much as we all do, and you will see really brighter days ahead.
Look, I think a misconception that is very common in the market is that, the prices have dropped. One, you have not lost any money as a landlord as long as you have not left the position. Okay? If you have not sold, you have not lost. That's one. Two, with regards to rentals, if you still want to get a tenant into your apartment, try to offer them, let's say, 14 months for a higher rent. Give them 2 months free as opposed to dropping the rate. This ensures that later on you are still within the market range. So I don't think people and sellers should panic. People that want to sell because, for example, now, okay, I've already extended my office 1.5 years ago. And now I know that the unit next door might be available for sale. So I'm like, okay, I would sell now to take this opportunity to buy the office next door. So I'm selling, but I'm not someone that is selling just for the sake of cashing in. Let's say you cash the money. What are you going to do with the money? If you don't have something safe to put your money in that is going to give you a higher return, why are you even doing that? Then all the government efforts and the initiatives that the UAE government is taking is definitely promising a bright future. They just announced that they have left OPEC. This means that they are going to produce more barrels of oil. This is going to bring more money to the country, for the country to invest it in infrastructure. We are already light years ahead of many of the European countries and other countries in terms of infrastructure. So they already reduced the threshold for getting a golden visa or a 2-year visa. I'm going to leave something for Myles to say.
No, what they said.
I mean, I've got to say, Zaina and Kika, you know, I was unhinged in the WhatsApp group.
Who told you it's going to end? Who told you? My gut feeling says it's ending?
She called it, and she actually called it the day. She's like, no, it's over today.
I don't
And we were like,
believe it. That feeling, Zaina, you had intel for sure. That was too accurate.
yeah, Zaina was
So
like, it's over tonight. It's over tonight. We're like,
you know what, Sylvia? I went to Portugal, as you know. At one point, I was like, my mom didn't want to come here because I've been pregnant for the past year, and she didn't want to come with all the situations. So I said, you know what? A woman needs her mom next to her. So I'll to Portugal. Kids were homeschooling. So I traveled, and I was like, ooh, big mistake. I want to go back. So it's not because I didn't travel because of the situation. I traveled because my family environment is back home, my mom and everything. But then I quickly realized being there, like, this is not where I want to stay. This is not my home. I felt so out of place I felt so many years like behind in comparison to what I have here. And then I thought, like, it's the time to be, even if I can't give my all at in the company, I have to be there. I have to go back. This is my home.
Guys,
So
imagine they do not have noon minutes. If you want something
no,
at PM,
I mean, let's not talk about that and
you want that mushroom.
ironing and doing washing the cheese. Let's not talk about that part. I don't want to sound too.
I was just complaining earlier before we started recording. I was
Myles,
saying,
you don't
guys,
know about this. You don't understand.
I don't
this
know
part.
about it. I don't need
Yeah.
to know about it.
no, I was just saying, my hands are so dry from this London water. It's unbelievable. Like, I miss Dubai water.
I'm on the wrong podcast here, aren't I?
We've gone off in a tangent.
You're talking about how soft your hands are, and I've got just.
No, I mean it's the Dubai appreciation post, and I've got to say, I was heavily influenced by everything that I was seeing online, mainly on Twitter or X, and it had me in a frenzy. But just alone being 5 episodes in, and the people that I've spoken to on this show, I could tell you I feel way better, way more positive about the current situation and the outlook. Like, I'm excited. And even OPEC, when that happened, I was like, what's OPEC? What's this all about? I didn't know. So I looked into it. I was like, bold move. Makes sense. That is that's a good little signal.
Myles, we know that you are an Emirates Hills expert. I know because every time I'm getting an inquiry, Myles, help. So he's your go-to person in Emirates Hills. How do you think this segment of the market is going to be affected? Like, okay, we see a lot of offerings for 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom in the range of 1.5, 2 million, 3 million. Still, there is activity. But in your segment, because the prices were crazy.
Yeah. I think we're probably least affected at the top of the market. You're absolutely correct. There's a lot of distress deals on those 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom apartments. But at the top of the market and the people that I'm dealing with on a daily basis, no, they've got what I call holding power. They're billionaires, they're billionaire status clients, and that's their home. So it's not just a cheap investment. They're not trying to flip. They're not trying to bounce out. They're not looking at ROIs. It's their home. It's their family home. So no, I did not come across any, massive price reductions in.
Okay,
in
but if we are to be realistic, some of these homes were purchased for 15 million, 20 million, 30 million, and they have been selling at 110, 120, 150. How realistic the price was before the recent issues?
Yeah, I mean, look, I sold a villa in the V sec. Me personally, I sold a villa when this problem had started, 134 million, 134.
That's why you didn't fire anybody.
Huh? No, and look, there are still transactions happening, but they're not. It's interesting because most of my clients are the captain of industries. They are the heads of the major companies here, and they will stay in the region. They're not going anywhere. And, if I was to ask my clients, do you want to sell? The majority of them, where are they going to go? They're going to stay in the region. They're definitely going to stay in the region. They have to stay in the region because they own billion-dollar companies. And if they sell their villa in Emirates Hills, where are they going to go? So, no, I mean, sort of from a personal point of view, I've not seen a huge amount of change in the top 1% in the area that I work in. But then sort of across the board, the mid-level and down, the 1-bedroom, 2 bedrooms, that's where most of the movement have been. But elaborating on that point, and I'm sure both of you have experienced the same. I mean, I get asked 10 times, literally 10 times per day, have you got any distress deals, Myles? And I hate it. I'm like, bugger off. If there was a distress deal, I would buy it. So no, there's not a huge amount of
But
change
let's
at the
keep
upper end.
it there are opportunities, but I don't know for how long these opportunities are going to last.
Yeah, there's more flexibility, isn't there? There's definitely anybody who was already on the market and they were thinking about selling. I think what this has done is it's just motivated them a little bit more, and it's pushed them. Also, the opportunistic sellers, the people who were really trying their luck, they've had to fall in line, because if you are overpriced, you will not sell. You have to be. Now is a time to be sensible, and you've got to get in line with the market prices. So I think the higher you go in the market, the less movement there is. Yes, there's more flexibility. And there's also more reluctance from buyers. Buyers were naturally a little bit nervous. We had a couple of transactions that fell apart. I don't know if you guys felt I had the same, but we had a couple of deals which were in Form F, and the buyer pulled out, which was a real headache to manage. But I would imagine all agencies have gone through the same things.
And is that people just doing the maths that actually if we believe or perceive that the value has dropped by 20, 30%, it makes sense to lose my 10% deposit?
Yeah, but it's also fear of the unknown. I think if people knew, again, we don't know what the future holds. We don't have a crystal ball. And if we knew that, let's say, prices were going to be capped at, let's say that the whole market dropped by 10%, you probably would not want to lose your 10% deposit. You'd probably want to you'd continue with the transaction. But if you believe that the prices were going to drop by 30%, using Zeina's example, then yes, I would also walk away from a 10% deposit. So again, we didn't know, and we still don't completely know where the future is going to take us.
A lot of people are asking around for opportunities, okay? But when you are shopping for an opportunity, you also cannot be that picky. You're going to have to, the opportunity is going to lead you. Just like we've always had Emirates auction. There are always apartments and buildings and lands that are available on the auction. But is it really the house that you would want to live in?
Absolutely.
Thoroughly. So there are opportunities in the market, but it doesn't mean that if you are looking for a house to live in, or you want the ideal property, that this is the right purchase for you. And
yeah, agreed.
Times, like when it's an opportunity and it's reduced price, there is a reason why it's reduced price, because it's looking the other way, or it is a 1 bathroom or a huge terrace. There is a reason. But yeah, it's good for investors that are coming in. Let's see. I'm very positive. My gut feeling says that we're gonna be okay.
And we trust Zeina's gut feeling now. She's got some kind of sixth sense. That's great.
She has
okay.
a crystal ball.
What about developers? What are we wanting from developers? What adjustments? What should they be doing right now? Zeina, what are you advising them? A to Z.
Okay, so it's gonna definitely slow down for developers at the moment, because they bought the land expensive. They got the contractor at an expensive rate, even though now it's even getting higher and higher. with the less supplies of building material and stuff that are coming in. But the developer has little room to wiggle when it comes to price. Yes, they are giving better options in terms of payment plan, maybe a DLD waiver here and there, but there is no way for the developer stock to match the secondary stock. So the individual purchasers that have purchased 6 months ago, 1 year ago, 1.5 years ago, they bought off plan, they are still making their payments. Some of them are going to have the ability to drop their prices for a quick sale. But I think this segment is going to be cleared in the next 3 to 6 months, probably. Still, a lot of people prefer to buy directly from the developer and to follow a payment plan. Somehow, even though the deal on the secondary market for an off-plan unit is probably the best you will ever get nowadays, they feel more confident buying directly from the developer, even if they're paying 10-15% more. It's very psychological. This is something I don't understand. But definitely the developers are being more reasonable, more flexible.
Absolutely. I mean, there are three elements that a developer has to play with. One is their land, the cost of their land. The second one is their construction costs. And then the third element is ultimately their profit margin. The land they've already bought, so that cannot change. The construction costs, is out of their hands. So really, the only element that they can play with is their profit margin. I think developers are already showing signs of becoming more flexible. Either they are improving the payment plan and then motivating buyers to transact, which they have to. It is a competition, it is a challenge. And if you want to be the developer who attracts the buyers, you've either got to come down on your price, which you can if you cut into your profit margin, or if you have the cash flow, then offer a better payment plan.
Yeah, but
the alternative is that the developer doesn't sell their units and they're holding on to those units, which the majority of developers don't want to do because they're reliant on selling those units so they can move on to the next project. So yeah, I am seeing more flexibility from developers, and I
to offer a better
I'm
payment
pleased.
plan, they're going to need funding for their construction, right? When they want to offer a better payment plan, they need funding for their construction. This funding doesn't come free, so they are already
Some of
on their bottom line. Now, another thing is that recently, like I am working with a few developers. They're trying to get a quotation for from a contractor, and the contractor is refusing to give a price because they don't know what is the price or the consequences of everything that is happening on their price. So most of the contracts are moving towards a cost plus approach, right? So, and I know a few contractors that had committed to finishing a project at a certain price, and now that the prices have risen, they're having to take on the loss.
Yeah.
Contractor.
Which is what I said, isn't it? That's eating into their margin.
Yes, yes.
It's not really eating into the developer's margin. It's eating into the contractor that agreed to that price initially.
Yeah.
I think that developers, like all of us as investors and as developers, we were expecting like higher and higher profits as everything went up. And developers need to understand that it's time to expect that, like us. So I agree with Myles on that 100%.
And lastly, I want to finish on your outlook for the next 12 months, 6 to 12 months. Bullish, cautious, or neutral?
Who are you asking?
Go on then.
Where's my crystal ball? No, I'm similar to Zeina. I'm the eternal optimist as well. We will be fine. I think exercising a little bit of caution is the intelligent thing. I don't think you can just blindly buy anything, like we might have before. I do think there needs to be a little bit more caution, but I'm very bullish about the market moving forward. We will recover. We will come out of this. We will be fine. And I also think those that survive will end up with a larger slice of the pie, which suits me perfectly. So yeah, I'm happy.
Kika?
Sorry for the background noise. We have Heritage Culture Day, and everyone is very happy in the office. Listen, I'm waiting for F1 because F1 is always on everyone's face, and the drive, the international tourists coming and everything. I think with F1 and the exposure that F1 brings to the UAE, people will be like, oh my God, yeah, that's, we have lots of events and concerts and everything, but F1, it's that spotlight. And once that happens in December this year, we will be in a very good position. My only concern is the international market, because like we were speaking about the news and the sensationalism behind it, for the first time, I truly understood that what you see, it's not accurate. So it's the opposite. And we can do as much. We can be on social media, we can promote, we can have these talks. But when a big event like the F1 happens and it's broadcasted all over, I think that's where the confidence will come back and people will be like, oh my God, let's all go back to the UAE.
And lastly, Zeina, outlook.
Okay, so I am positive, but this doesn't mean that I don't have to be putting in extra effort and trying different new things. So I do believe that personally, I will know how to crack this and I will find a way out. Okay. Being in the market for over 20 years, I have no doubt that it will go back to recovery. And as real estate experts, I think everyone in this room is a real estate expert, we find a way to make money when the market is upward or the market is downwards. And there are transactions that are going to happen. Now, I believe that usually transactions, okay, now we are here. So this is the cycle. Now we are here. I do believe it's going to go down a little bit. And this is where the transactions are going to start happening.
It's timing the bottom.
So
how do you time the bottom?
So you cannot time the bottom. It's almost impossible. Whoever manages to buy exactly at the bottom is lucky. But up until then, a lot of people that are observing are sitting there hoping that this is the end of it. Okay? Usually 90% of the people are the ones that buy when it starts going up. And our responsibility and what we should be doing at the moment is making sure that we have the right stock. We are in constant communication with our employees as well as with our landlords and our investors. If you do this right, very soon things are going to start moving.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your perspectives, your outlook, and your golden nuggets. Really appreciate it. I hope you'll all come back into the Situation Zoom. Thank you.
Anytime.
Thank you, Silvia. I love the name and enjoy. And Zeina, really like the drawing.
Yeah. Please send me a picture of that. I need to,
Yeah,
I'll
send
put
a
it as
picture,
the
yes.
thumbnail cover. I'll put it as the
Yeah.
thumbnail cover for YouTube.